What's up everyone, welcome to Workshop Rebuild. In today's episode, I'll share with you guys the first startup on the John Deere 400 garden tractor. In today's video, I'll share with you guys the John Deere 400 and its first startup after a long time just sitting outside. I did purchase this off the previous owner. He did say it would start, but I had to go through a whole bunch of things to make this run for the first time, and I'll share those secrets with you today. Walking up to the John Deere 400, I added a new battery. I hooked up the positive and the negative terminal to the battery. I had to clean up these terminals. I have a special tool to clean these up internally, but the best way to clean these up is a sandpaper or a emery cloth on the inside to touch on the new battery terminals. So this is all wired up and that seems to be just fine. I will share with you guys how the carburetor looked previously, and this is how it looks like now. So from here all the way to over here, I cleaned this up and I made sure everything was clean, especially on the jet, and I made sure that the fuel bowl was perfectly clean, so when we add fuel that nothing will clog up within the carburetor. I left away the air filter because the air filter was very dirty, so I'm gonna have to see if I can get a new one for this engine. Another thing I did was to check the oil. I always want to check the oil and see if it's good oil and make sure that it is still a certain viscosity, so we do not have too thin of oil and also not too thick. If it's too thick, there might be some internal moisture and or there might be some gunk in the engine. If it's too thin, it is possible that there's even fuel within the oil, so you always want to make sure what kind of oil you have in the engine. Another thing I did was to take the side panels off on both sides. After that, I went ahead, removed the spark plug. I made sure that the gap was set properly. After the spark plugs were cleaned up, I poured a little bit of oil down in the cylinder and I turned over this engine by hand, and I did that up front on the pulley. I turned it over with a 9/16 wrench on the pulley in a clockwise rotation to get that oil lubed up within the cylinder. After that was done, I made sure that all the electrical was working down below, so I just took my multimeter and checked everything throughout the electrical system, and everything seemed to be just fine. One more thing I would like to mention is if you want to start up the machine, it's not important to come in the rear, but if you want to drive the machine, it's really important to check your fluid level. So when we come back here, our fluid level is about this high, and there is a filler cap on this side of the PTO, and this side shows your fluid level. That's really important if you want to drive the machine forward or backward to check the rear differential fluid. Front, like I mentioned before, you really just want to check the air and fuel area, which is around the carburetor. After that, the engine internal will have the oil, so that's very important to have a proper oil level. And the next thing on a gasoline engine is your spark, so you want to make sure that your spark plugs are working and or your ignition coil, which is right over there. Once everything was checked, I made sure that the fuel pump works. So I came over here to the switch, which is obviously an electrical issue, but you want to take the key and just turn it over once, and you'll hear that clicking, and that right there is the fuel pump down below, which is in working condition. So now we're going to go ahead and start this tractor up for the first time. So that right there is the John Deere 400 in a running condition. I just shared with you guys the John Deere 400 in a running condition. It runs very, very smooth. I did have to activate the choke by hand, so I took the cable off. It was seized, so I'm gonna have to make that free again. But for now, the John Deere 400 is running pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's running perfect. There are still some things that I have to address on the mechanical side of things, but I will cosmetically give this John Deere a brand new look. So I'm going to be priming it, painting it, and all that good stuff to make it look like new again. Since this engine is running, I don't have to do much to it. I could reseal it, or I could even rebuild the engine. So I'm going to have to see if it's leaking anywhere. I'm going to have to replace some seals, and if I do replace some seals, I might just tear into the complete engine and make sure everything is sealed off properly. On the rear end, I noticed a little leak. Since I had it on a concrete pad, there was a little leak on the rear end, and I'm gonna have to see what I can do about that. It's somewhere down below on the rear end. I'm not quite sure exactly where, but I will address everything. And I really want to make sure that this John Deere looks just as good as the 317 or 300. So if you guys like the content you're seeing, please hit that like button down below. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I will be working on this John Deere 400 very soon. I have ongoing projects which I will be finalizing, so stick around for the end results.